Hello everyone, this is Ravinder Sani from AJ Creations. It's been long since I've been asked regarding the editing videos, and here I am with the first one. I want you to provide me the feedback, good or bad, positive or negative, so that I can work on it and give you better videos in the future. Now to start with, this is the image that we are going to work on today. This image has been clicked using my Canon 5D Mark IV using 70 to 200 mm lens at a focal length of 120 mm. The aperture value is 2.8 and ISO is 100. If we zoom into the image, we can see there is not much of a skin retouching which is required in this picture. So I am going to do the color grading part in Lightroom, and then I'm going to export it to the Photoshop to do further manipulation. Now let's get started. We have this image open in the Lightroom. I'm going to develop module. Now, first of all, if I zoom in, I can see there is a beautiful sunlight on models here. I'm going to enhance this sunlight, and to do that, I need an adjustment brush. So I'm going to click the adjustment brush and I'm going to crank up the clarity to the maximum. Now I'm going to paint the area on which the sunlight is falling. Now this is going to increase the clarity and it is going to pop up the hair where the sunlight is falling. Alright, once you are done with this, you need to click on done. The image is quite yellow because it is clicked at the golden hour. So I'm going to reduce the temperature, say about 4800. There you go. Alright, now I'm going to add a little bit of pinkish tone to it. So I'm going to increase the tint. I guess this value looks fine. Exposure to me looks absolutely fine, so I'm not going to change any exposure value. But I'm going to increase the contrast. Say about 30 to 34. I guess this value looks better. Alright. Now there is too much of highlights at the back, so I'm going to reduce the highlights. Alright, I'm going to increase the shadows. And reduce the white. Blacks as well, I'm going to increase the value just a little bit. I guess this looks fine. Yeah. And just to add a little bit of sharpness, I'm going to crank up the clarity just a bit. Alright. I'm going to increase the vibrance as well, so as to increase the amount of muted colors. I guess this looks fine. And I'm going to reduce the saturation, say about this much. Now further, to add a mood to the image, I'm going to change the values of hue, saturation and luminance. I'm going to desaturate the skin tone. In order to do that, I need to change the values of red, orange and yellow. So if I talk about red, I'm going to increase the hue to about 30. Alright, I'm going to reduce the saturation because we need to mute the skin tone. I guess this looks fine. Yes. And I'm going to increase the luminance value of red. Okay, now you can see the redness is gone from the skin. I'm going to do the same to orange and yellow. For orange, again I'm going to crank up the hue. I guess this value looks fine. And I'm going to reduce the saturation approximately to the same value as of red. Again, the luminance will be towards the higher side. Now the same with yellow. I guess this looks fine. Now we can see the skin tone is already gone, so we need not change the value of saturation and luminance. Alright, now that we have desaturated the skin tone, let us scroll down to the calibration tab. Now here I am going to change the values of hue, saturation to the red, green and blue channel so that we can create a brownish tone. In order to have the brownish tone, we first need to increase the values of hue and saturation in red and decrease the values of blue. I'll make the changes to the value of green only to keep the faded effect of green in the picture. Now first, let me increase the values of hues in the red. I guess 40 to 45 would be the best. Yes. Now I'm going to increase the saturation. Alright, changing the values of hues in the green as well. And again increasing the saturation. Now, in order to achieve that brownish tone, I am going to reduce the value of hues and saturation in the blue. Alright, now you can see we have this nice brown color in the picture, but at the same time if we look at the bricks at the back, they have this blue tint in it. So in order to get rid of this blue tint, we need to go back to the HSL tab, which is hue, saturation and luminance, and now we need to change the values of aqua and blue. So I'm going to increase the hues in aqua. I'm going to reduce the saturation. You can see the bricks are gaining their original color. Similarly, I'm going to increase the hues in blue. Alright, and decrease the saturation. Okay, we have the original color back and we are not making any changes to the luminance value because we have already attained that color of bricks. Let us make few changes to the green as well. I'm increasing the hue just a little bit so as to get that faded effect. Alright, we have almost achieved the color tone that we wanted. I'm going to add the vignette in the picture, so I'm going to scroll down to the highlight priority, reduce the amount of the highlight priority. I guess this looks fine. I'm not making any further changes to the midpoint feather. The feather 100, I guess it's looking good if I make the changes. No. So 100 is good for me. Roundness again plus 67. I'm not making any further changes. I guess plus 67 is a good value. Alright, from here we are ready to move our picture to the Photoshop, but we can still see that there is a little bit of redness in the picture. So let us go to the tone curve. We'll make the changes in the tone curve so as to reduce the redness and give it a little bit of matte finish by muting the shadows. So I'm going to make the necessary changes here. I have increased the highlights. Now I am making a changes to the midtones. I guess this is looking fine. Now by making these changes we are also increasing the amount of redness in the pictures. So we'll decrease that redness by going to the red channel. I guess this is looking fine. Now shadows, we are again going to make changes here. Alright, now let's go to the red channel. Alright, the redness is now gone. The picture is ready to be exported to the Photoshop. So I'm going to right click on it, choose the option Edit in and Photoshop. Alright, now that we have our image in the Photoshop, we'll first get rid of this grass which is little distracting. Second, we'll crop this image as per the Instagram ratio. We'll also add a little bit of noise to the picture. Alright, to start with, first of all we need to make the copy of the background layer so that we can work on our image in a non-destructive way. So in order to create a copy, I need to press Ctrl J on the keyboard. It will create another copy of the same background layer. Now we need to get rid of this grass at the back. In order to do that, I am going to first select the lasso tool. You can simply click on the lasso tool or you can press the keyboard shortcut L. And once you have the lasso tool selected, you can make a selection around this grass. Now it is just a rough selection. I'm not being precise here. Once the selection is made, you can press the shift and backspace to open a fill dialog box. Now right next to contents, you'll find the option content aware. Choose this option, make sure color adaptation is selected. The mode is normal and opacity is 100. We need not check preserve transparency. Click on OK. Now the Photoshop has done a pretty good job. Press Ctrl D to get rid of the selection. Make a new layer and select a clone stamp tool. You can press the letter S on the keyboard for the clone stamp tool. You can now paint this area to get rid of this distraction that we got as a result of the content aware tool. So you can select the source anywhere around this and start painting. Make sure you have the opacity of 100 and also you have sample or layer selected. So I'm getting rid of the unwanted areas around the subject. All right. Now let us add a noise to the picture. Now in order to do that, you can simply go to filter, noise and add noise. But there is another way of adding noise to the picture, and it is a very good method to add the noise. For doing that, you need to first create a new layer. Fill this layer with 50% gray. In order to do it, press the fill dialog box by pressing shift and backspace. Choose the content as 50% gray and press OK. Change the blending mode to overlay. Now go to filter, blur gallery and field blur. Under field blur, you will see the option that says noise. Choose grain and increase the amount of grain that you want to add in the picture. You can zoom in and check the amount of grain. I guess this is looking better, though we got a little bit of grain on the face as well, but we'll mask it out. So press OK. Alright, now if we zoom in, we can see there is grain on the face as well. In order to get rid of it, you need to add a layer mask. Now with the brush tool selected, make sure the opacity is around 40 and our foreground color as black. Start painting on the area where you do not want the grain to be added. I am getting rid of it from the skin of the model. Alright, now you can see the before and after. If I zoom in, here's the before and here's the after. Alright, now it's time to add a little bit of sharpness in the picture. In order to do that, we need to first create the stamp visible layer. To create the stamp visible layer, you need to press Ctrl, Shift, Alt and E from the keyboard. Letter E as in echo. We have the new stamp visible layer now. Now with the stamp visible layer active, you need to go to filter, other and high pass. Make sure you select the radius only to a point where you start to see the edges. If I zoom in, you can see the edges are quite clear. So 1.5, the value of radius looks fine to me. I'm pressing OK. Alright, now change the blending mode to linear light. Okay, if we zoom in, you can see before and after. This is before, this is after. Alright, we see it is too much of the sharpness applied, so I'm going to reduce the opacity. I guess this looks fine to me. Alright, now it is time to add a little bit of tint in the picture. In order to do it, you can go to create new adjustment layer. You can either choose solid layer or gradient. I am choosing gradient. Under gradient, we have these gradients available. Like I said, we wanted a brownish tone in the picture, the brownish mood in the picture. So I'm going to scroll. I guess this looks fine to me. I'm changing the angle to 0. Alright, and changing the blending option to soft light. Now you can see we have a nice brown tone, but it is too much, so I'm going to reduce the value of opacity. I guess this is looking nice. Okay, we have added the grain, we have added the tint. Now the picture is ready to be posted, but first we need to crop it as per the Instagram ratio. So I'm going to flatten the image. For doing that, we need to right click on any of the layer and choose the option flatten image. Now we have the consolidated image layer. Press C to crop. Instagram allows us 4:5 ratio. So I'm going to select 4:5. I can move this picture so we have the subject completely there. You can also increase the frame by dragging this frame towards the up. Make sure you have the content aware selected. By doing this, Photoshop will fill up this empty spaces automatically. So press this check mark. Now you can see it is filling, Photoshop is filling up the empty spaces. There you go. It has done a nice job, but again, if we see there are few irregularities. So using the clone stamp tool, I am going to take care of it. Press the letter S for the clone stamp tool. Select the source and start painting. Alright, I guess now it is looking good. Alright, we have our image ready. Now just one more effect to it. Let us add a little bit of dust in the image. A sparkling dust. I have these few pictures with me. I clicked it using my Canon 1100D 4 years back. So we can use any of these images to create that dust effect, the stardust effect. I guess this picture is looking fine. So I'm going to dragging this picture into the Photoshop. Increase the size. I'm going to place it at a suitable area. Alright. And changing the blend mode to screen. Now you can see, if we zoom in, a nice dust in the picture. We'll get rid of this dust from the face. In order to do it again, add a mask to it. Using the brush tool with the foreground color as black, just paint over it. Make sure the opacity is 100. To make it look more realistic, let's add a blur to it. Make sure the layer itself is selected. Go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and you can choose the value where the dust is looking realistic. I guess this is fine. Hit OK, and you can see here is before and after. Alright guys, so this is all. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you learned something from this video. I want a feedback from you guys so that I can work on it, I can improve on it and give you better videos in future. Please do not forget to follow me on Instagram and also subscribe to my YouTube channel. And yes, hit the bell icon to get the latest updates. Thank you so much. Have a great day.